What if the secrets to power, peace, and purpose were written nearly 2,000 years ago by a man who ruled the world yet mastered himself first? Discover the timeless lessons of Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-king who proved that true strength lies not in conquering others but in conquering your own mind. These 9 Stoic principles can change how you lead, think, and live starting today. Stay until the end, because the last one might just change the way you see your entire life. Subscribe now and begin your journey toward wisdom, calm, and unshakable strength. 1. Put people first. In the darkest days of the Roman Empire, as the Antonine Plague swept across the land and claimed millions of lives, Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, did something no one expected. He walked the halls of his palace, marking his most precious possessions to be sold. Jewels, robes, golden statues, marble thrones, all of it was taken to the marketplace to raise money for his people. That act wasn't just a renunciation of luxury, it was a bold declaration of what true leadership means. While others clung to their wealth and comfort, Marcus chose to protect something far more valuable: the trust of his citizens. He understood that real power doesn't lie in crowns or treasures, but in the courage to put people first. That's the spirit of the philosopher-king, a ruler whose compassion outshone his crown. In a world today where ego and self-interest often take center stage, his story echoes like a timeless reminder. Leadership isn't about being served, it's about serving others. And this is only the first of 9 timeless lessons Marcus Aurelius left behind. Principles that can transform how you see power, courage, and your 2. There's always another way. When the empire was falling apart and the weight of the world rested on his shoulders, Marcus Aurelius never gave in to despair. Obstacles surrounded him: plagues, wars, betrayal, exhaustion. Yet instead of asking, "Why me?" he asked, "What now?" That simple shift in thinking changed everything. To Marcus, every setback carried within it the seed of progress. "The impediment to action advances action," he wrote. "What stands in the way becomes the way." It's one of the most powerful ideas in all of philosophy, the belief that there's always another path, even when one door slams shut. Think about it. When we're blocked by failure, rejection, or loss, we often see only what's been taken from us, but Marcus invites us to look deeper, to find what's been given to us instead. A new perspective, a chance to grow, a lesson in resilience. This mindset doesn't make the pain disappear, but it transforms it into power. In a world that constantly throws challenges our way, this Stoic wisdom feels more relevant than ever. What if, instead of breaking under pressure, we could bend and adapt like Marcus did? What if every obstacle was actually a hidden opportunity? That's the second lesson. And it opens the door to something far greater: the art of turning struggle itself into strength. 3. Take it one step at a time. Once you've recognized that an obstacle can become a path, as Marcus taught, there's a deceptively simple but brutal follow-up: start moving. Insight without motion is a museum piece. It looks noble on the wall, but it doesn't change a single thing in your life. Marcus didn't merely reframe problems, he translated that reframing into tiny, relentless actions. The point isn't to wait for the perfect plan or for courage to arrive fully formed. It's to take the small, imperfect step that's available right now. Think of it like this: When a road you plan to take is blocked, you don't stand arguing about whose fault it is. You pick a detour, then another, then another. Each detour is a discrete decision, and each decision compounds. Momentum is built not by grand declarations, but by the accumulation of modest, honest choices. One paragraph written, one difficult conversation had, one workout completed. That is the Stoic ethic in practice, transforming intention into habit. And here's the hard truth that makes this lesson urgent. Procrastination is the enemy not because it steals time, but because it lets fear calcify into identity. I'll do it tomorrow becomes I don't do that. So pierce that identity today with one small action. Do that, and you'll find the way you uncovered in the last lesson becomes a road you actually travel. Up next, how to stop fear and worry from stealing the energy you need to take those steps. 4. Eliminate worry. By the time Marcus Aurelius had faced wars, plagues, and betrayal, you'd think he'd earned the right to worry, but he discovered something startling. Anxiety doesn't come from the chaos around us, it comes from within. The world outside may be turbulent, but the real storm brews in the mind. When Marcus wrote in Meditations that he had escaped anxiety not by running away from it, but by letting it go, he revealed one of the deepest truths of Stoicism. Peace is an inside job. We often think that if we could just fix our circumstances and get the promotion, end the conflict, find certainty, our anxiety would finally fade. But when the noise dies down, the unease is still there. Why? Because it isn't the world that's restless. It's us. Like Marcus realized during the Antonine Plague, even when life slows to a halt, the mind races on. The cure, then, isn't to control the uncontrollable, but to control our response to it. Imagine treating every worry as a signal, not a sentence, a prompt to breathe, observe, and let go. That's how Marcus kept his composure while ruling an empire in chaos. And if he could find calm in a collapsing world, what excuse do we have in ours? The next lesson dives deeper into this idea, how the way you begin each day can either feed your anxiety or free you from it entirely. 5. A good start is half the battle. Marcus Aurelius believed that how you begin determines how you endure. Every morning before the empire stirred, he rose early. Not because he had to, but because he chose to face the day with intention. In the quiet before dawn, he opened his journal and wrote what would later become meditations, reminders to stay calm, humble, and focused on what truly mattered. This was more than routine. It was armor for the mind. Marcus knew that once the chaos of the day began, the politics, the arguments, the endless decisions, it was too late to build clarity. That's why he started each morning grounding himself in discipline and purpose. It wasn't about productivity hacks or rigid schedules. It was about owning his mindset before the world could. And that's a lesson that cuts deep today when so many of us wake up and immediately hand our attention to our phones, our worries, or the demands of others. What if instead you treated your morning like Marcus did, as sacred preparation for battle? Just a few moments of reflection, gratitude, or focused work can shift the entire course of your day. Because as Marcus reminded himself, well begun is half done. Start right, and you carry that strength with you into every challenge that follows. Next comes the discipline that sustains that strength. The kind that demands you hold yourself to higher standards than anyone else ever will. 6. Be strict with yourself. Marcus Aurelius ruled millions, yet the person he disciplined most fiercely was himself. "Be tolerant with others," he wrote, "but strict with yourself." In those few words lies the essence of true self-mastery. For Marcus, discipline was never about domination or control, it was about integrity. You can't demand virtue from others if you haven't first wrestled with your own weakness. In a world obsessed with judging, criticizing, and comparing, Marcus turned the mirror inward. Every mistake, every lapse in patience or humility became a moment for correction, not self-punishment, but self-improvement. He knew that moral strength wasn't built in public speeches or heroic gestures, but in the quiet, unseen choices of daily life. Resisting anger, keeping promises, doing what's right even when no one is watching. This kind of self-discipline isn't glamorous. It's gritty, private, and constant. It asks you to be your own teacher, your own critic, your own guardian. But it's also the foundation of true freedom, because once you can govern yourself, no one else can rule you. And maybe that's what makes Marcus timeless. His insistence that greatness begins within. Before you try to fix the world, master your own impulses. Before you demand virtue from others, embody it. In the next lesson, we'll see how this inner strength shapes the way we face the most difficult test of all. How we treat those who disappoint, offend, or wrong us. 7. Don't resent others. Marcus Aurelius understood a hard truth most of us spend a lifetime resisting. People will disappoint you. They will lie, betray, misunderstand, and act selfishly. And yet he refused to let bitterness take root. "When you wake up in the morning," he wrote, "expect to meet the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful." Not in cynicism, but in preparation. Because when you accept human imperfection, you stop being surprised by it, and that's when you gain control over your own response. For Marcus, every difficult person was a test, a mirror reflecting his own capacity for patience, forgiveness, and strength. When others were unjust, he practiced fairness. When they were cruel, he practiced compassion. When they were weak, he practiced restraint. This wasn't passive endurance, it was active training of the soul. The world gave him opponents and he turned them into teachers. In our modern world, where outrage is currency and resentment is worn like armor, Marcus's example cuts through the noise. True power isn't found in revenge or judgment. It's found in remaining kind when you have every reason not to be. That's how a philosopher becomes a king, not just in title, but in spirit. And just when Marcus teaches us to rise above resentment, he offers another profound challenge: to rise above distraction. Because beyond anger and noise lies another enemy, wasting your time on what doesn't matter. 8. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Marcus Aurelius ruled the largest empire on earth, yet he constantly reminded himself to pause and ask a deceptively simple question. Is this necessary? Surrounded by politics, noise, and endless demands, he knew how easily a person, even an emperor, could drown in the trivial. For Marcus, clarity was not found in doing more, but in doing less of what didn't matter. Every distraction, every impulse to react, every wasted word was a thief stealing time from the only things that truly counted: virtue, purpose, and peace of mind. He stripped his life down to what was essential: his duty, his discipline, and his moral compass. And in that simplicity he found strength. This wasn't minimalism as an aesthetic, it was minimalism as survival. Our world today isn't much different from his. Constant noise, endless tasks, 1,000 little fires begging for our attention. The question Marcus asked himself might be the most important one we can still ask. Is this necessary? Most of the time, the answer is no. And in saying no, we reclaim something priceless: focus, freedom, and the ability to live with intention rather than reaction. Because when you cut away the unnecessary, what remains is what's real. And it's there in that quiet clarity that Marcus leaves us with his final, most haunting lesson. One that reminds us why every moment, every choice, and every breath matters more than we think. 9. Remember the 3 Stoic mantras. In the end, Marcus Aurelius distilled an entire philosophy into 3 timeless reminders, mantras that shaped not only his reign but his soul. The first, amor fati, love your fate. Don't just accept what happens, embrace it. Every twist, every loss, every moment of pain becomes fuel for growth. To love your fate is to stop wishing for an easier life and start becoming strong enough to face the one you have. The second, live for the common good. Marcus believed that a life lived only for oneself is a life half-lived. The fruit of this existence, he wrote, is character. And the only way to grow character is through service. Whether leading an empire or helping one person, the Stoic path demands that we leave the world a little better than we found it. And finally, memento mori. Remember, you will die. For Marcus, death wasn't a threat, it was a teacher. It stripped away the trivial, forcing him to ask, if this were my last act, would it be worthy of me? In that question lies the heartbeat of Stoicism. To live now, fully and deliberately. Together, these 3 principles form the compass of a life well lived, a life grounded in acceptance, compassion, and purpose. Marcus's voice echoes across 2 millennia, whispering the same truth to us all. Time is short. Don't waste it. Live with courage, live with meaning. Life is fragile, and that's exactly what makes it precious. Like Marcus Aurelius, we're all just passing through this world for a short while. But in that brief time, we have the power to choose how we live, with discipline, with compassion, and with calm strength. Every sunrise is another chance to practice virtue, to rise above chaos, to become a little wiser, a little kinder, a little stronger than we were yesterday. Marcus taught us that greatness doesn't come from power or fame. It comes from self-mastery, from showing up every day with purpose and integrity. So when the world feels heavy, remember, you already hold the same power within you that guided an emperor. All it takes is the courage to use it. If these lessons from Marcus Aurelius inspire you, if you want to keep learning how to live with more peace, strength, and meaning, make sure to subscribe and join our journey. Because this isn't just philosophy, it's a way of life. And your transformation starts now.